If I had a nickel for every time I saw someone declare that people need to play more removal in Commander, I would be able to afford like half the mana base of a 3-color deck. Why the fuck are lands so expensive? So bullshit. It's always the default answer. Are you losing too many games? Play more removal. Are you getting ganged up on? Play more removal. Does a commonly played card host your entire deck? You guessed it right. Removal is the answer. Eat your vegetables, kids. I'm overplaying it a little here, but I see this core idea expressed all the time by both content creators and regular players. If you're struggling in Commander, the best answer is to include more removal to deal with the problems. This is not a fundamentally wrong idea. One of the best, most effective ways of winning in Commander is to just play a shit ton of removal, particularly sweepers. I firmly believe that Planar Cleansing and its iterations are the strongest cards you can play in casual, social Commander, because the decks are usually centered around extended synergies between permanents, and players rely heavily on artifacts for mana, so getting everything destroyed will force them into a state of rebuilding for multiple turns. Spamming sweepers, especially if you can make them at least partially one-sided, is undeniably a good way to win Commander games. I play with a lot of new players because I run the local Friday Night Commander event at my LGS. Deck, Dice and Dungeons in Gießen if you guys ever want to come hang out. We have a lot of players that are just getting started with Commander, and many of them go online to search for advice on how to improve their deck building. And often, all too often, they return with the most painful pillow fort removal piles imaginable. They absorb, play more removal, and then end up with decks stacked with 20 pieces of interaction and no way to win before the end of the night, when I violently throw them out of the store. Those games are usually unsatisfying for everybody involved, because instead of ending in a grand finale, they slowly drag themselves to the finish line, if they even make it there before the players just agree to call it a day. Social Commander is a weird game. It originates from and uses pieces of an incredibly competitive environment, that of Magic the Gathering, but many players choose it specifically to avoid that competitive environment. Commander is a lot more Mario Party than it is chess. Despite that, a lot of emphasis in the discussions surrounding Commander focuses on winning. I'm guilty of this too. I talk about winning in titles and thumbnails because that's what gets attention. And it's obvious why. Winning is fun, and it's an easily quantified success. But I actually think there's a bit more to it. Let's imagine for a moment that we are actually talking about Mario Party, and we are having Mario Party discourse about how to maximize our Mario Party win rate. From a purely curiosity-centered perspective, I think this could actually be a lot of fun and very cute. But as soon as we start taking it seriously, doesn't it feel kind of odd? Why are we trying so hard to win at Mario Party? Since when is that the point of the game? Commander has a lot of historical baggage here that pushes it into an awkward direction. There's a pre-existing culture structured around winning. Since core Magic is so competitive, it then only makes sense to look at Commander in the same way. So, the starting lens that a lot of players have for Commander is a competitive one, even though it probably shouldn't be. Now, to be fair, somebody still wins at Mario Party. We gather coins and stars and compete in minigames, and at the end of it all, whoever has the most wins, and winning is fun. But we also all know that the journey is so random, so unpredictable, that it doesn't really tell us much about the person who won, and focusing on winning alone as the source of our enjoyment is obviously silly. Imagine playing Mario Party and getting upset that you didn't win. Instead, we care about the time spent, about the little moments we share with the players around us. And I think that's a much better attitude to have towards social games, including Commander. Something that really helped me elevate my enjoyment of Commander was defocusing winning as the goal of the game. That's not to say that I don't attempt to win. I very much try my hardest, and I enjoy it when I get there. But I view it as just one small element of the greater purpose, which is to play some cards and have some fun. Now, I understand that this is a bit of a useless statement. Fun is incredibly subjective. It means fun, the mentally different thing for each person, and for many it's not actually all that clear what exactly that is. Being able to properly express what you like about a game is really hard. I already mentioned this, but I play with a lot of new players, and pretty frequently they are kind of miserable playing Commander. I was the same. When I started, I instinctively knew that this is enjoyable and good for my mental health, but it took me quite a while to properly understand why and what. Eventually, I managed to crystallize it, and for me, it's all about the social element. I play Commander to hang out with people, to spend time with old and new friends. I enjoy the expression that comes through deck building and the freedom of 30,000 cards, because it lets me learn something about the community surrounding me. I've always struggled a bit to make proper connections with others, and Commander really helps me with that, because we can just sit down and start playing, and I can learn about you through that alone, and the talking will come later, all by itself. Only after I understood that was I able to enjoy Commander to the fullest, and now it's my favorite thing to do. Since my focus when playing is the social interaction, I care a lot about the players around me enjoying themselves. It can't only be about me having fun, because if everybody else at the table is miserable, then I'm not going to get the social experience I'm hoping for. I think a lot of Commander players share my attitude, whether that be consciously or intuitively. We all know that the quality of a Commander game isn't determined purely by the mechanics written on the cards, but rather by the narrative that the interactions between them and the players create. The best Commander games are worth retelling. Well, worth retelling in the same way that a D&D campaign is. Really fun for everyone involved, but, not actually worth listening to. I'm not saying that every Commander game should be trying to recreate the greatest story of modernity. Dungeon Meshi. Oh, Dungeon Meshi. But I do think it's a good idea to look at it through the lens of narratives and storytelling. And that brings us back to removal. Those games I talked about a while ago, the ones that are just endless piles of removal, killing any threat on sight, and that eventually just end in a sad state of resignation, they always remind me of reading a story and enjoying it, feeling like it's probably approaching a satisfying conclusion soon, only to notice that half the book is still left. Sometimes that's a pleasant surprise, but more often than not, I just wish it had ended while I still liked it. A good ending is the most important part of any story. And that's why, instead of focusing so much on removal, I think it's better to focus on finishes. Every deck should play at least 3 to 5 cards that were chosen purely to end the game. Now let me be clear here. I'm not talking about combos, but rather individually powerful cards that represent a game-winning threat. This can be classic overruns like Endra's Forerunners, damage amplifiers like City on Fire, a massive mill like Riverchurn Monument, or weird shit like Doomsday Excruciator. I've recently been having a lot of fun with Apex of Power. Commander is the big spell format. Embrace it. It's cool. Cards like this create big, flashy moments that leave an impact on the narrative of the game, while also pushing it towards its conclusion. Now I understand that earlier I said we should be defocusing winning, which seems contradictory to placing strong emphasis on finishes. But my real point here is that we should be working towards a positive play experience, rather than just one with a high win rate. In that way, I find that trying to win yourself, rather than preventing everyone else from winning, leads to that better experience. But of course, this varies. Maybe your local community loves 3-hour games where every tiny advantage has to be fought over. Or maybe I'm going to have to pry your 15 counterspells from your cold, dead hands. In those cases, if you and the people you're playing with are having a good time, just keep doing what you're doing. But for everybody else, more and more removal might just not be the correct answer. The build-up style of solitaire-esque Commander is often talked about negatively, but I don't see an issue with it. Giving everybody a chance to express themselves is a big part of the game, and constantly nuking everything they play will just frustrate them. Although, I'm not saying that you shouldn't play removal. A healthy level of interaction keeps the game interesting and helps a broader range of strategies flourish. I usually play a maximum of 3 sweepers per deck and around 3 to 5 pieces of targeted interaction, although mostly erring on the lower end. This means I tend to see 2 to 4 of these cards per game, which is enough for it to feel interactive, but not enough to use them on any small problem that I come across. My path to victory has to be a proactive one, and if I can't navigate my limited removal to a win, then that's fine. Let's just go next. I also have a couple of other personal rules that are just kind of focused around making sure that everybody else actually gets to play, but that's probably best reserved for another video. I believe to have a positive social commander experience, winning should be secondary. While it's the goal that the rules of the game define, our actual aim should be a positive game experience for all players. In the pursuit of that, playing endless removal doesn't really help. It might increase our win rate, but who cares who wins after the 7th sweeper has stole the game past the 4-hour mark? No. Late game, all sweepers have cycling 0, and instead of just surviving, we should be trying to end the game ourselves. Always remember that at its core, Commander is a cooperative game. We shouldn't try to keep the other players hostage, but to have a good time together. Now I have to admit there's a bit of a problem with what I just told you about. What I just said assumes that the other players cooperate. If I'm not playing a pile of removal, and then everybody else just plays the most nastiest, fastest synergies imaginable, well, then we have a different problem. But honestly, that's a longer discussion for another day. If, however, we can all keep ourselves in check, and we can focus on not just our experience, but also on the experience around us, I think Commander can be absolutely wonderful. And that focus on not just ourselves, but also on the other players, is something that I think has to be learned and understood, but then it goes a long way. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to check out the Patreon. There's a link down in the description. Didn't include a call to action in the middle of the video because didn't really feel like it fit. So really appreciate it if you could go check out the stuff and give the video a thumbs up. Particularly the Patreon, there's a lot of additional content there. I upload there all the time, like literally all the time, like way too much. I upload more on Patreon than I upload here. So you know. Anyways, also, complete side note, I just heard back from the publisher regarding my board game. They didn't like it. I don't think they played it properly based on what they described it. Like the problems they had seems like they just didn't understand the game. That's of course unfortunate, but not much I can do about it. But I have something coming up this weekend where I'm going to the Spieleautorentreff in Göttingen, which that's German for game designer, board game designer convention meet. Probably meet is better. Where there's a bunch of board game designers and a bunch of publishers. I'm gonna go there, have a look, see how that goes. So wish me luck. Anyways, I'll see you guys. Goodbye.